Right now, we're going to destroy everything you knew about history. Forget it, school textbooks are lies. We'll show you 6 facts that official science tried to hide, but can no longer. You won't believe it, but we found a real nuclear reactor, thousands of years old. How is that even possible? How about an iron hammer used in the time of the dinosaurs? We've unearthed sophisticated nanotechnology in the permafrost and found traces of spaceships right in the sand. But all this is just the tip of the iceberg. The most terrifying secret lies right under your feet. Do you think Earth is a paradise for humans? No, that's a mistake. We've collected evidence that our planet is a gigantic abandoned resource mine. We live on a dead world, which was gutted before us. Ready to learn the terrifying truth and see the true face of the Earth? Let's go. The sands of the restricted area conceal what shouldn't be here, and when the wind blows away the dust, a picture is revealed that unsettles even seasoned scientists. Among the dunes, protruding is not an old ruin or a statue, but a huge iron pipe studded with rivets. Its nose is buried deep in the ground, and its tail with engines points skyward, as if the rocket frozen just a second before takeoff. This is that same strange object from the banned photos that were so quickly erased from the web. And although scientists mutter about a ritual pole, any mechanic will immediately understand that this is nonsense. Before us is not a stone that was chiseled, but a true miracle of technology, alien to this empty world. The strangest thing here is this. Chemists are shocked that the hull has lain in the earth for 12,000 years, yet it doesn't have a single spot of rust. It shines like new. When engineers peered into the tail of this thing, they found a fuel supply system frighteningly similar to a modern spacecraft, and nozzles with thousands of tiny cooling tubes. Such a complex component could only be made in a vacuum. But the most eerie thing is the perfectly smooth shape. Incredibly smooth, created for one thing only, to fly faster than the speed of sound. Ancient priestesses didn't need to know air resistance to pray. This shape is needed only to reach for the stars. The very idea of what this really is sends shivers down your spine. This is not a temple, but a real escape pod, a technological ark of those who knew of the imminent flood and tried to escape from the doomed land. Apparently, something went wrong. The launch button was not pressed and the crew perished, and the rocket remained an eternal monument to an escape that never happened. However, any ship is just a heap of dead, unguided iron, and the most terrifying thing is that inside this metal box we also found its brain. If that enormous rocket remained lying in the sand, then its computer might well have fallen into the deep ocean. At the very early 20th century, ordinary sponge divers near the Greek island of Antikythera accidentally recovered from the seabed a strange green stone. For many years, this object lay in a museum like useless junk, until it finally dried out and fell apart, revealing its terrifying interior. Hidden within a dirty piece of stone was a complex mechanism consisting of dozens of bronze gears, dials, and hands. When modern scientists examined the find with powerful X-rays, they were literally speechless. It was a veritable mechanical computer. Each gear was cut with a precision impossible to achieve by hand or a file. The teeth of the wheels were perfectly smooth, as if they had been cut by a laser or a smart machine. To assemble such a mechanism, craftsmen needed not just magnifying glasses, but powerful microscopes and tools thinner than a hair, which, if history is to be believed, simply did not exist back then. But, the main secret really lies in the device's design. Hidden inside it is a component that engineers actually call a differential. Let me explain it more simply. It's the same component that lets the wheels of your car spin at different speeds when you're turning corners. The heart of any modern car, honestly. Now, this technology was officially invented only about half a century later, but the ancient Greeks, who supposedly just counted the days, had it. With its help, one could precisely determine the location of planets that, well, the science of the time didn't even know about. Maybe, just maybe, it was a navigator for traveling not only in space, but also in time. Or even a control panel for that same terrible weapon that wiped a previous civilization from the face of the earth. But any computer, metal, or plastic is useless without a battery, without a source of power, and it seems our distant ancestors knew how to extract this power in ways we have never dreamed of. Traces of this incredible energy lead us straight to the deep mines of Africa, to a place called Oklo. In the 1970s, physicists noticed an oddity in ordinary uranium ore. Analysis showed that this uranium was severely deficient. However, scientists were alarmed and hastened to say that it was a natural reactor. Supposedly, uranium had clumped together, been flooded with water, and started working. But this theory falls apart if you think about it. For a reactor to function and not explode, you need perfectly clean water and sophisticated controls. And at Oklo, this process ran perfectly, for exactly hundreds of thousands of years. The reactor neither exploded nor died down, as if someone invisible had been turning the knobs at a construction site, and maintaining a steady flow of energy, just like modern nuclear scientists do. This is no accident. Nature does not build nuclear power plants. We are standing on the ruins of a gigantic ancient power plant. 2 billion years ago, turbines hummed here, and bright lights shone, powering cities that today, well, we can only imagine. Such strange detail was found in Egypt, and it still baffles engineers. In the Cairo Museum, among ordinary jars, lies a very strange round object called a sabu disc. It's a stone plate with inward curved blades and a hub in the middle. Scientists say it's a fruit bowl or a lamp, but try pouring oil or putting an apple in a plate with a hole in the middle. Any mechanic will immediately tell you what it is. The shape of this disc is an exact replica of a component in a powerful modern pump or fan. It's impossible to make such thin and curved blades from this fragile stone by hand, because this stone would just break. Whoever made this broken element painstakingly carved a replica out of stone to place in the king's tomb. This is cargo cult, the worship of things. We look at a stone model of an engine, but who could have created the original? Whose hands held tools capable of cutting metal and stone like butter? This story takes us back to June of 1936. Imagine Texas, the scorching sun and the unbearable heat that just melts the air. An ordinary family of tourists, Max Hahn and his wife Emma, were looking for a little coolness and decided to take a walk along the dry bed of the ancient Red Creek. A ringing silence reigned, broken only by the crunch of stones underfoot and the hum of the cicadas. It was a perfectly ordinary, lazy weekend, and none of them could have imagined that their chance discovery would forever change humanity's understanding of the past. Emma's attention was drawn to a strange piece of rock lying on a ledge, as if someone had deliberately placed it there. It looked out of place among the ordinary stones. A strange object, resembling a fragment of old wood, jutted out of the gray limestone. Curiosity got the better of them, and the couple took the strange boulder home. You won't believe it, but for over 10 years this artifact lay in their home. Sometimes on a shelf, sometimes in the garage, sometimes they even propped the door shut to prevent it from slamming. But one day, their son, consumed by childish curiosity, armed himself with a chisel and hammer and split the stone. Inside they found the remains of a wooden handle. What's so special, it seemed? Well, some bungler lost his tool 100 years ago. It got buried in mud and dried up. That's what many would have thought. But when professional geologists looked at the find, their faces literally turned white. They saw something the tourists hadn't noticed. The rock that had frozen the hammer belonged to an ancient geological formation, known as the Edwards Formation. To give you a sense of the scale of the catastrophe for your history textbooks, I'll tell you the age of this rock: 140 million years. Consider this number, that's the Lower Cretaceous period. At that time, not only were people not yet walking the earth, but even tyrannosaurs hadn't yet appeared. It was the era of giant diplodocus and flying pterodactyls. Our distant ancestors were then small, rat-like creatures, and fearful. A hammer, the silt hardens, turns into stone, and seals this impossible piece of evidence for millions of years. Of course, skeptics immediately began shouting, "It's a fake!" A modern hammer couldn't have survived that long, right? But here's the thing, not only does time eat into steel, but it also causes metal to rust. So this ancient hammer contained no carbon at all, 0%. It was chemically pure iron. 96.6% iron, the rest chlorine and sulfur. Modern science can only produce such pure metal in very complex vacuum furnaces, using powerful magnetic fields. It's simply impossible to imagine this being done by a primitive blacksmith with a hammer at an anvil. We have before us a technology that in some ways even exceeds our modern capabilities. And here's the final, most incredible fact. You know very well what happens to iron outside: rain.